Let's go back in time, shall we? Going back to November of 2020, the latest expansion from Bungie, Beyond Light, was upon us. Did you ever get that ice planet Hoth feel from Star Wars? No? Just me. Okay. I was doing the usual shooties and looties, and bounties, of course, and I came across this new subclass, Stasis. Let's be clear, I was never a fan of the freeze everything subclass. I wanted to vaporize everything with my Nova Bomb. One and done. If you've been listening to my other podcast, Guardian Downcast, I had a certain catchphrase I always like to use when talking about Stasis. The f***ing ice show. I honestly still say it even today. Just not a fan. The thing I noticed, though, was this new subclass layout. I was actually able to pick and choose whatever benefit from this new Stasis aspect and fragment system, they called it, that I wanted. No more fixed skill trees and hello, total customization of how I wanted to play. I eagerly went through the campaign and slowly, painfully, one by one, fully unlocked all of this new skill tree system, every aspect, every fragment. It's go time, baby. Well, after unlocking all that, it was time to make some crazy setups for killing aliens. This was a whole new phase of Destiny 2, so what did I do? I never looked at it again. I continued to use my good old Nova Bomb. Some habits die hard, it seems. Even when Bungie started converting the past light subclasses into this new system, I still resisted. I don't have time to deal with all this extra fluff. That's what I'd say to myself. That is, until I watch my first build video on YouTube. Wow, you mean I can literally be unkillable with this setup? Or, you mean I can actually do 40% more damage to bosses with no extra weapons? So wait a minute. If I hear you correctly, I can render enemies harmless and get a bulletproof vest with this new build? On and on, the build started dominating YouTube, in the Destiny space, that is. It really wasn't until I completed my very first Grandmaster Nightfall strike that I realized how important build crafting was in Destiny 2. It was like playing an entirely different game on a vastly different level. Let's say I was playing at a 6 before build crafting. I mean, keep in mind, I'm a day one veteran, and I'm playing at a 6. Well, now, after build crafting, I'm at an 11, baby. Build crafting can be a very complicated thing to learn in this game, but today, I'm going to simplify and break it all down for you, so you don't have to make the mistakes I did. So I enlisted the help of a very good friend of mine, Mr. N8iVR8R. He has a YouTube channel of his own where he helps fellow Guardians out there put together some awesome builds. And at the end of the show, we're both going to prove how easy it is to build craft in Destiny 2, and we're going to walk through the thought process step by step. So let's roll. Hey Guardians, welcome to the Destiny Help Desk podcast, a show that's designed to help you with the little bits of the Destiny 2 online game. Hey, my name is ToddtheGatr, and whether you're a brand new Guardian to the game or a returning player, I'm here to help you explain the constantly changing dynamics of this game, bring you up to speed, and get you ready to jump in and start your Destiny journey. This is the audio component to my YouTube channel, which is ToddtheGatr, 2 Ds and GATR, or you can visit youtube.com/@ToddtheGatr. If you're more of a visual learner or want to refresh your memory of today's subject, you will always find a link to the video pertaining to this topic. Just check in those show notes down below there. If you have any questions for me that I might answer on the show at a later time, please email me at ToddtheGatr@gmail.com, or you can send me a voicemail with your question at speakpipe.com/Destiny Help Desk. All of these links will be in the show notes down below as well. There are no stupid questions in Destiny, so if you need answers, please don't hesitate to send them my way. This podcast is here to serve you, and who knows, your question just might help a fellow newer Guardian out there. All right, let's get into it.
Build crafting is putting together like the best possible build, whether that be all your aspects, your fragments, your subclass, your class in general, your armor, your mods, your weapons, and like combining them all together to work in synergy with each other to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. And that's, in essence, in my mind, what build crafting is.
That's my buddy Native Raider explaining what he considers the term build crafting in Destiny 2. We heard his story on episode 164 of Guardian Downcast in September of 2022, and I'll put that episode link down in the description below if you want to hear his story. He has a unique way of spelling his name, by the way. It's N8iVR8R. And he has one of the best opening lines in his YouTube videos, where he tests all kinds of builds for different Guardians in Destiny 2. So check him out, and I'll also put his links down in the show description as well. Of course, the natural question I asked him was, why should new and returning Guardians care about build crafting?
What I like about build crafting is the analytical process of it all, trying to just think it through and figure it out. And, okay, this could work with this, and then taking it in and testing it, experiencing it, and figuring out exactly what's going on and if it's viable or not. That there itself is just so much fun. It's almost like a game inside of a game. But yeah, I absolutely enjoy that. And then why should new Guardians consider it is because it totally changes the game for you and how you play. And it could branch you out in trying new things instead of sticking with the same weapon or exotic, helm piece or whatever it is all the time. Branching out and trying different things is fun. It could be a rough start at times, because you're like, this is not what I'm used to. This is a different gameplay loop. But then once you start to get it down, you're like, actually, I really like this. And it makes you a more flexible Guardian to where you're able to handle a multitude of situations, So I think that's why new Guardians should definitely consider it.
Yeah, I was talking to John Bounty Hunter on the last show, and he said that he went into these, he was trying to get a title. He's trying to get those title pins. He loves those title pins. So he has to get the titles. And one of the titles was he had to go in and solo a lost sector. Solo I think it was a lost sector, a legendary lost sector. I think it was without dying even. I can't remember exactly, but he said he was getting so frustrated because he kept dying and he never could make it to the end of them. And then what he realized is that it wasn't because I was a crummy player. It was just because he had terrible weapons and armor and terrible builds, terrible setups. He didn't really know a lot about build crafting back then. So yeah, that kind of explains what you talked about there, about how, it's just so important. And it definitely, you're like playing on another level, aren't you?
Yeah, it's really fun. And I didn't get into build crafting up until just before Witch Queen, when my son, convinced me to come back to Destiny.
That's right.
And I was just playing. I was in the Crucible. I was just doing my thing, playing with my son. And then he sat there and inspected my Guardian. And he's like, "Dad, why are you running no mods on your armor?" I was like, "What are mods?" I'm not even kidding. I was like, "What are you talking about? What is this?" Because the last time I had played this game, mods weren't in the game.
That's right.
So I was just like, okay, all right. I knew about weapon perks and traits and stuff, but I had no idea there was mods. And honestly, I think that might have been the one thing that kind of really sucked me into what I do on my YouTube channel now, and just how much I play this game and how much fun that whole build crafting scenarios are.
So what is the initial process when I'm thinking about putting together a build? When I'm deciding to put together a build, let's just say my first build. What is the thought process that you run through in your head?
Yeah, the first thing is going to be whether it's PvE or PvP.
Right.
That's the first thing, because that's going to change everything. So is it going to be for PvE or is it going to be for PvE? I'm sorry, PvP and PvE. So that's the first thing. And then I trickle it down from there. Okay, what sort of PvE, if it's PvP, what kind is it going to be? Trials, or comp, like 3v3? Is it more of a 6v6? Is it, what is it for? Is it Iron Banner? Is it some crazy mode like Fortress or something like that? That is going to kind of mold into what I want to build and give me the idea and what kind of capabilities I need to try to, beat those challenges the best possible way. And then if it's on the PvE side, okay, am I doing nightfalls? Am I doing GMs? Am I doing raids? Is this just for, quick ad clear, low content that I just want to kind of rush through things quickly? So it all comes to that. I think that's the official or the first initial thought process that goes through my mind.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, that's kind of the way I think of it too. And yeah, PvE and PvP are totally different builds, totally different objectives there on what you're trying to do. And just so the new players know as well, stuff that you use for PvE may not work in PvP. There's a lot of There's a lot of stuff that you put together for a PvE build that will be nullified or inactivated if you try to use it in PvP. Or it'll just never happen. The circumstance where a certain fragment kicks in, it may very rarely happen because it's just a totally different game. Okay, before we go any further, let's go over some of the basics in build crafting. The first thing are these arbitrary numbers you see alongside your armor and guardian when you're looking at it in game. I asked Native, what are these numbers and what do they mean to us?
Those are your stats. So your character stats, you have the 3 at the top being mobility, resilience, and recovery. Mm-hmm. Those are your main stats, what's known as your main stats. Mm-hmm. Each one does something different, as with all of them, but these top 3 main ones are kind of more geared toward what class you're playing. So if you're a hunter, a titan, or a warlock, they each have a certain significance to each. So, for example, mobility, that is the main stat for the class ability on the hunter, whereas resilience is for Titan and their class ability, and recovery for Warlock. But on top of them, they do more things at their base level. So recovery, that brings up your health or helps you regen health quicker. Resilience is damage reduction. And you got mobility is your movement speed, not your sprint speed, but your movement speed and your max jump height. And then for the 3 minor stats, if you want to call them that, you have discipline, which is the cooldown on your grenade. You got intellect, which is the cooldown on your super ability, and strength, which is the cooldown on your melee.
Wait a minute. Ability cooldowns? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, class abilities. So you have the 3 different class abilities for the 3 different classes. Titans got their barricades and thrusters. Warlocks got rifts and a host of other things, as well as hunters with their dodge,
Gotcha.
So that's what those are tied to, is the cooldown rate. The higher it is, the lower the cooldown is, so the more often you can use it.
When I spoke to Danfinity on episode 18 of Destiny Help Desk, he mentioned that the first thing that new Guardians should begin working on is maximizing your resilience stat on your armor. So I asked Native Raider if he emphasizes resilience as well.
I do, for the most part. Especially me as a Titan main, it's a double bonus for me, right? Because it gives me my class ability back as soon as possible if I got it maxed out, as well as gives you that 40% damage reduction. So it is definitely an important one because, you die less. But to be honest with you, I think that any of these stats can be anywhere depending on what you're trying to do with the build. So saying that every build that I have is going to have 100 resilience isn't necessarily true, because maybe I'm not necessarily doing some kind of GMs or nightfalls or, end game type stuff. Maybe I could care less about that stat and I want to fly through with, a high discipline or strength because I'm just grinding out some strikes or something like that. Maybe I won't care about that stat as much. I'm doing more low end content. So honestly, it all depends on what the goal is for your build.
Well, before we walk you through our build process, which is coming up next, you'll need some online tools to help you not only put together the build you're striving for, but also how you can organize your builds and swap them on the fly as needed.
DIM is probably one of my go-tos. It's always up on my second monitor just for ease of transferring things. And, if you're trying to make a build and you're trying different exotics or different sets of something, it's nice to have that right there, and you can see exactly what you got in your vault on your other characters at one glance. It makes it easy to be just sit there and scratch your chin how would this do? Let me just drag and drop and try it. It's really that easy. And on top of it, they have really good breakdowns of, what the weapon does, not just from what Bungie puts out there as far as the info that you can see in game, but it really has the data behind it as far as exact numbers, percentages, and all that kind of good stuff. So DIM, definitely the go-to. And then when it comes to armor, and I want to sit there and focus as far as what those stats are, like we were talking about earlier, and I want to say I want this build, I want to have, it's a grenade-heavy build. I am running, say, Solar Titan with Ashen Wake, and that's all your fusion grenades. Now I want to get my discipline maxed out, go to D2 Armor Picker, and you can sit there and use that resource to max out that, and it'll look at everything that you have and apply it to you in one go. So it's really nice, really easy, and it's for all your stats. Say I want that, and resilience are my main focus. D2 Armor Picker makes it just super easy and just analyzes everything you've got on your account and helps you make it happen.
Yeah, I've used D2 Armor Picker. I swear by that. Anytime I'm anytime I'm trying to make a homemade build, something from scratch that I'm not borrowing from anybody else, it's such a great resource. And you can usually tie it to like one exotic and then and it'll grab everything that you have or collected in armor and it'll pick the best piece that'll work for you. And of course it'll give you all the combinations. It's such a great resource. Destiny 2 Armor Picker. Yeah, D2 Armor Picker. That is a great site as well. Thanks, man. All right.
Yeah, one more thing on that too is don't forget about YouTube. Like just in general, I'm not trying to talk about mine, but like I sit there and I look up builds all the time.
Yep.
And I do it and then I tinker it to my liking and my gameplay style and maybe something else. I might see this build that a content creator put out there, but I was like, you know what? That's pretty good. But I think if you ran this and that and the other thing, I think it could boost, its productivity. So, just getting ideas from others out there.
You know, that's a good point, because what I've noticed with all these build videos is there's no right or wrong build video. It's just different depending on what you're wanting to do for your individual player, you know? And I'm granted there's probably some most efficient picks or the most, catalytic picks and stuff, but what's great is you can decide what you want to put into a build, right? There's really no right or wrong answer, but on how effective you want to be, though, that would be where YouTube is definitely a good source. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Hey Guardians, just a quick announcement that I've achieved my first goal of reaching 1,000 new and returning Guardians out there on my YouTube channel as subscribers. And it continues to grow every day. In fact, I've surpassed the 2,700 Guardians mark who have subbed to my channel thus far. My goal is to reach 5,000 by the end of the summer, so please help me in that endeavor if you haven't already. And I wanted to thank you for your support, and hopefully the videos I've released thus far have given you some clarity in traversing all the little things of this Destiny 2 game. As the latest Destiny 2 annual expansion has been released, Lightfall, my goal will be to continue to help new and returning Guardians out there tackle the next iteration of the Destiny universe story and activities. But I'm also going to add some more opinion pieces in there as well. Let me know what you think about those. And of course, don't forget my live streams. So keep an eye out on my YouTube channel for these videos, and the audio components of them will also be released here, right here, on this podcast as well in the future. So if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, ToddtheGatr, what are you waiting for? Jump in there and follow the channel, hit that notification bell so you'll be alerted to those videos when they first arrive. So thanks. I also wanted to mention that you can now become a channel member directly to support my content. It's super easy to do. Just click that join button below the video and it will explain the rest. If you become a channel member, you'll receive a special channel member badge that will be visible whenever you comment on my videos and also when in my live streams on YouTube. There will be a member-only chats on live streams on occasion, and your comments will be highlighted as well. So do me a solid and sign up to be a channel member. Think of it as buying me a shot at the bar once a month, just to say thanks. I appreciate you. So we've gone over the basics of build crafting. We've defined what it is, why newer Guardians should care about it and do some research and just spend the time to create a build. And also why it will elevate your gameplay to the next level versus Guardians that don't use builds. We've then explained what those numbers alongside your Guardian mean and why your Guardian stats are so important, and even touched on one stat in particular, resilience, and what benefits it offers to your Guardian. Lastly, we mentioned some online tools that can help you crunch the numbers when deciding what you want to build, as well as a tool to help you organize and store your builds and swap them on the fly right in the game. You know, as I just read over that synopsis, I realize that it can still be overwhelming to absorb all this information. So what we're going to do today is literally talk through the build crafting process, step by step. And by the time we're done talking through the build, you should have a build ready to jump in game and experiment with. I would suggest that if you are very new to making builds, that you pause the podcast here and resume playing it once you're in game and looking at your character screen. Or just remember to play it back again to learn all aspects of it. That way you can piece together this build in real time. And with this example, what you'll realize is that it's so easy to learn by actually doing the activity yourself. So let's get started. Okay, I have my PS5 up and I want to, I just kind of want to hold people's hands here. And I just want to walk a new player through making a build. And I have my PS5 open here. I have my character screen up. I think you said you had your console up too. So let's go step by step, man. I mean, that's just the easiest way to do it, right? It's just then the new player can just listen and follow along, or they can pull their character screen up and go step by step and look and see what to do. So I have my Warlock up. I don't know. You probably have your Titan up, right?
No, I got my Warlock up.
Oh, that's right. You've been doing Warlock builds. They're coming. I saw on your channel. They're coming. Yeah, good deal. All right, good.
They call it Season of the Witch. They call it Season of the Witch, but it's Season of the Warlock for me.
Yeah, man. I have to play Titan this whole season because I lost it. But that's another issue. I'm enjoying Titan. I really am. I'm having fun. I love being the punchy boy. I love it. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. All right, let's start with step one. What do we first, if we're looking at our character screen here, what is the very first thing we need to decide on?
No, we need to decide. I mean, we decided on the class. We're going to go Warlock, right? So that was the first thing.
Yep.
Now we got to decide what subclass we want to use.
That's right. Do we want Solar? Do we want Void? Do we want Arc? Do we want, what is it? Stasis or the new, Strand? I'm going to go Solar.
Okay.
This is going to be, are you going to do the Crota raid?
I am.
Well, let's start there then. Since we both have Warlocks, let's compare builds. We can do that. I have my build that I'm going to bring into the Crota raid, but let's step by step. Let's just put this, we're going to try the, day one Crota raid race and, let's just go from there. So, okay. I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to just compare what you're doing to what I'm doing. And at the end, I'll share what I put together for my build. So, okay. So we decided on a Warlock and you're going to go into the Crota raid. So what subclass are you going to go with?
I'm actually going to have two prepared.
Okay.
So I'm going to have an Arc subclass, Stormcaller ready. And I'm going to have the, Dawnblade as well with the Well and Div. But, I'm going to attempt to use Stormcaller pretty much as I can in the raid until it's like, okay, hold on. We're going to need a div or we're going to need a Well because it's like too much,
Yeah.
Because I feel like, the Arc build that I got, it's super ad clear. And from what I've seen from Crota, because I've never played that one, I didn't play no raids in D1. So this is going to be my first experience and it looks very ad dense, very ad heavy in a lot of the encounters.
That is an understatement, sir. I've never seen so many ads coming at you in this first encounter. I've played Crota probably double-digit times. This was the second raid I ever played. Vault of Glass was the very first, and this raid gave me nightmares because the first encounter alone, I would always be the last one. If you never want to be the last one in this first encounter because you will die. Okay, so you're going. Let's go. Let's go Stormcallers. I want to know I'm curious actually what you're going to use here. So you're going Stormcaller and you're going to go what part of, let's go to the subclass itself. I guess what's the next thing we need to decide on here?
The super ability. I go ahead and I start just like as you read from top left to right all the way down. Mm-hmm. So I start with the super. Now this will depend on how tanky everything is. I'm going to start with Chaos Reach just because
okay, I'm choosing Chaos.
It is a quicker cooldown by far to Storm Trance, but Storm Trance does have the better ability to add clear. But I want this for burst damage because the rest of the build can handle adds. So I want something to deal with those more tankier, mini bosses or whatever we run into.
Okay. So Chaos Reach it is. Okay. All right. What's the next thing we need to look at now?
And for abilities, I'm going to definitely be running Healing Rift because it is a day one. So things are going to be rushing at us, as they said, right? They're going to be more aggressive.
Yes.
And elemental shields and all that kind of stuff. So definitely throwing on the Healing Rift.
Okay.
Movement ability, I like Burst Glide, but I feel movement abilities are honestly preference to play styles and what's more comfortable for the individual. Try them all.
I'm going to go Strafe Glide. Okay. What's next?
The melee. I like this ball lightning melee. It has so much range and while you're amplified, ball lightning releases additional lightning strikes before detonating. So I really like that one. And with this build, we're going to be amplified a whole lot. So every arc melee is going to be real nice.
I've not used this melee ability, but Hazel gushes over it and he's not even a Warlock. So it must be good if Hazel's, from Guardian Downcast. If he's my co-host, if he's gushing about this, then I definitely need to be using it more. Okay. And once we get our melee ability, what's next?
Grenades. So for grenades, I like the arc bolt grenade.
Okay.
It's got a relatively, I think it's a second lowest cooldown at 145 base.
Yeah.
I think the only other one is the blinding grenade, I want to say, or the flashbang. Yeah, 131. So the arc bolt is fast, and the fact that it changed nearby targets, and you think about the amount of thrall that are going to be running at us in those hallways, I think that this is great because you're going to get it back fast, even faster with everything we're going to get into later. But it's quick, and it's going to chain targets, and yeah, that's the one I like.
Okay. Yeah, fast. We're going to get grenades back quick. Good. I like it. We have all our abilities picked out. We've got our super ability, what we decide to go with. What's next?
We got aspects.
What are aspects? What are aspects exactly?
I'm glad you asked this because I think the way that I look at aspects, and you can relate this to other games, like other MMOs or MMORPGs, they have jewelry, right?
Wait a minute, there's other games out there? Sorry.
I look at this as like one of those pieces of jewelry that you can equip on your character, and it has slots, right? Mm-hmm. And those slots would be your fragments. That's the way that I look at this. So you have two sets of jewelry with, however many open slots, depending on what piece of jewelry you pick, or quote unquote aspect, right?
Okay.
So that's the way I like to look at these, but these change a lot of what your abilities do or how they react or add different things. Fragments are awesome. And I love that Destiny is continuing to feed this, especially with the new ones for Strand. That's awesome. We're not going to get into that, but, that's in my mind. I look at them as like a piece of slotted jewelry for your Guardian that, could just do some cool shit.
Kind of branches out into other abilities. Cool. I like it. All right. So what are we going to pick first?
I'm going with Arc Soul for the first aspect.
You cast your rift to create an arc soul that fires at targets in front of you. Allies can pass through your rift to get their own arc soul. Your rift charges faster when allies are near. And while amplified, your arc souls are supercharged and gain increased fire rate. Okay. This sounds badass to me.
Yeah. All right. Man, that feeds into the ad clear. You're dropping that. Usually you're going to be dropping a rift to either heal allies or to heal yourself because you get bombarded. So you're having that Arc Soul pop up and just be your buddy to really help you out.
Yeah, and Arc Soul will be shooting ads for you, so perfect. Yep. All right, so we're using an Arc Soul. What else are we going to use it as an aspect?
And that one gives us 2 slots. 2 fragment slots.
Good point.
And then the other one I'm using is Electrostatic Mind. And what this one does is defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating the jolted or blinded targets creates an ionic trace. Collecting an ionic trace makes you amplified.
Ooh, amplified. What does that mean?
Amplified, it makes your movement speed faster, your weapon handling greatly increased. And you can just keep running as well, which is really kind of cool. So,
wow.
You can get amplified with what it's doing here with collecting ionic traces. You can also get it from killing enemies with arc damage, whether that's your nades, your melee, or even your arc weapon can make you amplified. So it's nice all around.
Perfect. All right, so we got these ionic traces coming back to recharge stuff and make us amplified. We've got the arc souls that are going to be shooting and helping our fire team shoot other enemies and protect ourselves. All right, so we got aspects. What do we need to pick now? Oh, that has 2 slots as well, right? Yeah.
Yep, it's got those 2 fragment slots. So now that gives us a total of 4 fragments that we can equip on this build.
Okay. So what fragments are we going to go with here?
The first fragment is going to be Spark of Beacons. While you're amplified, your arc special weapon final blows create blinding explosions.
Ooh.
So you saw how easily we're going to be amplified.
Right.
And then now our arc special weapon, which we'll get to when we get into that, kills with that is going to blind targets. And remember, with Electrostatic Mind, our arc abilities, defeating a target with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates ionic trace. So that feeds into that aspect as well. So start that synergy, that game loop right there. That's kind of in the background working for you while you're doing stuff.
This is going to be really nice to have when the thralls are. I'm sorry, I don't want to give it away, but when all these crazy enemies are coming at you in the first encounter of Crota. So okay, good call. All right, so we got that happening. What else are we going to have working for us?
We're going to keep feeding that energy right there, that loop with Spark of Ions, and that's defeating a jolted target creates an ionic trace.
Okay. That's easy. That's simple enough. So it's just going to speed up the game loop, right?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So anything that's blinded, we'll get blinded and jolted from the aspect. We'll get ionic trace when we're amplified, and it'll make us amplified, obviously. And then while we're amplified, Final Blows with our special weapon blinds everybody. So
wow.
It's just,
I might be using this tomorrow. I might be using this. I'm going to steal this from you.
Absolutely, man.
Okay, so we have 2 of our 4 fragments selected. What's next?
Next up, we got Spark of Discharge. This one unfortunately penalizes you. It gives you that negative 10 in strength, but arc or weapon Final Blows have a chance to create an ionic trace. So more feeds to that ionic trace, which is to your abilities, which is to your amplified, which is all that good stuff we already talked about.
Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention is sometimes you will get a penalty to those 6 stats we talked about earlier. So this will take away 10 strength. But what you're assuming here, I guess, is that the payback is going to be much higher than the penalty, right?
Absolutely. And that's why they usually penalize these, because they're a little bit stronger than the others.
Yep. Bungie's got to keep us in line. I get it. All right. So arc, weapon, Final Blows, chance to create an ionic. Gee whiz, man. How many ionic traces are going to be coming back to us?
It's going to allow us the ability to constantly have uptime on our abilities.
This is crazy, man. Okay. I see how this is all working together. Okay. We have one more slot. What are we going to go with?
We're going with Spark of Shock. And this is another penalized one, negative 10 in discipline, but your arc grenades jolt targets. So we're getting the jolts and the blinds. We're getting all that kind of good stuff, which defeating any of those is going to make us amplified and, give us ionic traces too.
So as you can see, if you just equipped an arc special weapon alone and walked away right now, you're already a powerhouse. But as those annoying late night infomercials always say, but wait, there's more. All right. So we got our 4 fragments. We got our 2 aspects that are kicking butt. We got all our abilities picked. We got our super type picked. What's next?
Next up, we dive into the weapons and armor.
Okay. So what are you going to use for weapons? Let's start there.
All right. For weapons, these were carefully picked because we don't know what we're getting into when we get to Crota. We don't know what kind of champs that are possibly going to be in there. So I want to be ready for all 3.
Yeah, and you're probably going to have multiple weapons here, not just one, right? A bunch of fallbacks. Gotcha.
Yep. So what I'm going with, what I like to go with is something that has a bit of range and something that's powerful up close. And then, of course, a heavy to deal with any of the boss damage or finish off champs. But for the top slot, for the primary slot, it's not considered primary. It's not considered kinetic either.
What do we call the first box? That's what we'll just say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess when you select the weapons, it still says kinetic weapons, even though there's stranded stasis weapons in there.
That's true.
But I'm going with my Raycontour. It's a crafted combat bow. It's a stasis bow, precision frame. I like this one. It felt good from when I first crafted it. It has a certain stickiness when hitting them crit shots. And I picked this one because this is going to feed into our ability regen for both our grenade and our melee. So what I'm running as far as weapon perks on this, I got Enhanced Pugilist, which Final Blows with this weapon generate improved melee energy, and then dealing melee damage briefly improves this weapon's handling. And I also got Wellspring, which Final Blows with this weapon generate an improved amount of ability energy, and the energy is divided between your uncharged abilities. So both of those feeding back into our abilities, which is already getting, mass produced from ionic traces.
Gotcha. Okay, so this Raycontour bow, where do we get this bow?
This one is from the first season of Lightfall.
Is this a Neomuna weapon?
No, this is a seasonal weapon. You can still go and get from the season that we had. I'm drawing a blank on this one. Marasov.
Oh, okay. I must be in the. Let me check them. I'm gonna check them real quick.
It's not a Lightfall weapon. It's a seasonal weapon from what is this? Is this the 3rd season? Yeah. So season 20 from season 20.
All right. I'm just looking at it for my benefit here. Raycontour.
The Queen's Guard. So, if you go to the helmet, the war table.
Yeah, I got it here. Okay, good. Good deal. All right. So you got a ring contour bow for your first weapon slot. What are we going to put? What are you using for your energy slot or your second weapon slot?
Yeah, this is where my exotic weapon's coming out here. And this is going to be Delicate Tomb, which is not the most it wasn't the most well received weapon. And it's a fusion rifle. It's an arc fusion rifle. So it's a special weapon and it's arc. So that's what allows our fragment to go and play there, the Spark of Beacons, which is while we're amplified, the arc special weapon, final blows create blinding explosions, just a reminder. So while we're amplified, which we're going to be amplified a lot, getting a kill with this will cause a blinding explosion.
Wow.
And that's not even have to do with anything about what it actually does. Like, that's just from our fragment.
Yeah, I'm not putting that in my inventory right now at all. Not at all. But this exotic fusion rifle has its own special stuff too. It throws iconic traces, more iconic traces back at you, right?
Yep, exactly. So you got Tempest Cascade as one of its traits. So collecting an ionic trace overcharges the next weapon's shot, and it'll jolt targets on hit.
And you got the catalyst?
No, I actually don't have the catalyst. I'm about to have him at 91%.
Collecting an iconic trace, but partially reloads the magazine from reserves. I have the catalyst. That's the first thing I got done. I love fusion rifles.
Yeah, I'm having this done tonight, though, because I want that extra perk for tomorrow. Yeah, I got
to get tonight on my Warlock through a lost sector as soon as we're done here, too. So, okay.
Yep, the Cenotaph, I'm getting that right after this is over.
That's exactly what I'm going to get to, and I got to do it
I need that for tomorrow.
I know, I'm bringing it. All right. So you're using that for your special weapon slot. What are we going to go for our heavy duty weapon here?
For now, I got on the Swarm, and that's an older machine gun.
Yeah.
It's an arc machine gun. This one's got surplus and Vorpal. It's high impact frame. It's a solid machine gun. Like, we've already used our exotic slot for the weapons. I'm using this. Yeah. The reason that I'm picking this one is not only that it's arc, so it'll feed into everything else, but also because we do have the overload machine guns in our artifact, which, if you want to, I think we should probably go into that. Just hit that briefly next.
Yeah, because definitely. Well, I'm curious too if you're going to bring a Legend of Acreus in.
No, okay. I don't plan on doing that. I'm going to run this, see how it goes. Okay. I'll probably end up switching to the Wendigo as well. Yeah, depending on there, I got an adept Wendigo with impulse amplifier and explosive light, with a boss spec. So that one, might be a play there. So we'll see. I got that one in the slot ready.
If my 21% delirium wasn't sunset, dang it, Bungie. I'd love to bring that in right now. I'm looking at my dim as well. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm thinking here? Do I not have an arc other than Thunderlord? I gotta have more. Okay, so I may have to go differently. I may have to go with Thunderlord in my heavy slot, and then probably what I'll go with as my energy weapon, if we're going with this build, is I'm probably gonna go, and I'm just that guy, man. I'm just a weird guy, okay? I'll probably go with an arc. Yeah, I'll probably go with an arc pulse rifle here, because I'll have that for my long range, and then I'll use something for closer range on my kinetic slot. But this is the beauty of build crafting, man. We can do whatever we want. If we like to use submachine guns, then we have submachine guns we can use. If we want to use a fusion rifle, we can use it. And it's even better to, whatever you decide to put with it. So it's just a great thing, man, about this game is you have all kinds of options, almost overload, in fact. But, yeah. All right. So we picked our 3 weapons, at least our 3 starter weapons. We'll have fallbacks that we can go back to as well. What's next?
Let me hit on one more thing as far as weapons. The reason that I selected a bow, a fusion, and a machine gun.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about champion mods, because there's probably gonna be some champions in here, right? In this raid?
Yeah, exactly. We have no clue. So I want to be prepared day one for whatever comes at us. So that's the reason that I selected those certain weapon types is because we have that in the seasonal artifact. We have a bow for the piercing bowstring for the barrier champs.
Right.
We have unstoppable fusion for the unstops, and then overload machine gun for obviously overload champions. So that's the reason that I have those 3 selected.
Gotcha.
So if you do have that, like one suggestion for you, if you do have or are going to be running Thunderlord, which is an awesome pick. I love Thunderlord. Maybe if you still have a Wisdom Rebuke from, that is an arc.
But see, you're basing your bow on, now see, this is another great thing about Destiny. I don't have to worry about anti-barrier mods because I am going to be using my favorite weapon in the game right now. And that is, I got to pull it up because I always forget the name of it. I've been using this in Lost Sectors and I cannot put it down. I love the Revision Zero, man. It's an exotic, pulse rifle, and I love pulse rifles, but it not only has a charge shot where you can actually shoot up to 4 sniper shots from it for major damage to, enemies, especially bosses, but it has built-in anti-barrier rounds. So I'm probably going to go that route for anti-barrier. You're using a bow instead. I get it. Then I'll probably go for my unstop. I'm probably going to go, I might go a scout rifle because unstoppable scout is, those are the 2 unstops is, fusion and scout this season. So I'll probably go the scout route. I'm trying to think what arc I would use here. But I would probably find an arc scout rifle. I've got all the weapons, so I'd figure it out. An arc scout rifle, and then go with the Thunderlord. No, I can't because I'm using an exotic in my. Okay, I got some work to do.
Yeah, the other thing that would change about if you went 2 primary weapons, you can change your spark of beacons because that's for special weapons, arc special weapon final blows.
That's right.
For them, if you want that blinding explosion.
What would I switch it out for? What would you switch it out for if you were going to double primary? Spark of beacons, yeah. Amplified arc special weapon, create a blinding explosion. Man, that's going to be. I might need to keep that. I think it's really
just too important to not go for it.
Big aspect of the build, isn't it? All right, so I'll stick. No, you know what? I will stick with the fusion rifle. Like I said, I've got plenty of arc fusions. I'll use an arc fusion there, and that way I'm covered. Good deal. All right. So we have the reason we picked those weapons, of course, is because these are champion mods that are built into these weapons because of the season pass. And that's one of the things that's great about the season pass is we don't have to put these mods in place anymore. As soon as you unlock them on the seasonal artifact, they're automatically applied to whenever you're using the guns. It's great. That's a great quality of life update. All right. So I got my weapons. I got my aspects, my fragments, my supers, my abilities chosen. Oof. This next one's going to be a mountain. What do we got to do next? What are we doing next, Native?
It's time for the armor.
Oh, boy.
The armor is the funnest part, in my opinion.
It is.
Once you got your weapons and your everything else set, now it's time for the armor. Outside of your one exotic piece you're going to pick, everything else is just kind of like, all right, how do we support what we've built already? You know, that's the way I think of the rest of the armor mods. How do we support what we're trying to actually run here? Okay.
So what are you going to pick for your exotic? What are you surrounding everything with?
So we'll start at the headpiece because actually the exotic that I'm running Crown of Tempests.
Oh, okay. Okay. I got that.
And for those that may not know what it does, it's got something called conduction times, not times, because I kept saying conduction times so many times. Conduction times, arc ability or jolt final blows increase the recharge rate of your arc abilities and extend the duration of storm trance. Now we're running chaos reach, possibly switch to storm trance, but I did this again for the ability uptime. So it's going to and we're jolting everything now. Like every other shot from our fusion rifle, right, is going to be jolting targets on top of, our melees and everything like that when we're amplified. So that's where I'm going with that one. And it's really kind of crazy. If you need to try that combination of those two, like before you try anything else, just try that combination of those two. And it's wild how fast you get your ability back. And those arc abilities on an arc warlock is so strong.
Yeah, I'm getting excited, man. Too bad I got to play. Well, I'm actually going to be playing Warlock on tomorrow's day one. So yeah, I can go along here. All right. So we're surrounding everything with this crazy helmet, Crown of Tempest. What are we going to add to that? I mean, do we need to, let me ask you this. What mods are you going to put in the slots for that headpiece armor?
We'll talk the 3 slots, because you have your first slot in armor is going to be your general armor mod. And this is a boost to your stats,
right?
Like the stats that we had talked about.
That's where you're kind of filling in stuff that you need to boost up a little bit, like resilience, like we talked about.
Exactly. So I'll just talk on the last 3.
Gotcha.
The first one is going to be Harmonic Siphon. It only costs 1 energy cost, and this Rapid Arc Final Blows create an Orb of Power. So we're going to be focusing on Orbs of Power here to help build our super quickly. And also give us armor charge. Okay. Next up is going to be Kinetic Siphon, which is the same thing, but for the kinetic weapon. Stasis Siphon. I forgot to switch this out because I was playing with some other stuff.
Using the Stasis bow, right? Yeah.
So I'll do a Stasis Siphon on this one. And Rapid Stasis Final Blows, create an Orb of Power. So we're going to get Orbs of Power with rapid kills from either 2.
Perfect.
And then for that last slot there, currently I'm running Special Ammo Finder, but these ones are subject to change to see how the ammo economy is going to be in the raid. I could very possibly switch this to Heavy Ammo Finder as well as a Scout, for the allies to see the heavy ammo that I'm generating.
Yep.
So, we'll see. But right now I have a Special Ammo Finder on, so we have a constant uptime on our exotic weapon there.
I'm going to go Heavy Ammo Finder because I'm always going to run out of heavy, it seems, just to go a little differently here. And this is what's great is you can go to what you think you're going to need, right? So yeah. Okay. So, we got our helmet covered. What about what's our next piece we're going to work on?
We're going to go to the arms, the gauntlets.
Okay.
So for this one, I'm going to be running Grenade Kickstart as well as Melee Kickstart. Again, boosting that energy. I want my abilities. I want to be a god on the battlefield, right? I want to be throwing lightning every which way direction at any time I want to, because it's just that much more powerful than shooting a weapon, So, so we got Melee Kickstart and Grenade Kickstart. What those do is when you use your melee or your grenade, since I have both equipped here, when they're fully expended, you gain melee energy. It does cost your armor charge to be consumed. So, that's where we got those siphon mods to constantly put into generating our orbs to keep us with those armor charges. So whenever we throw a grenade, we do have an armor charge, and it does, give us a good amount back to our energy there and our abilities.
Gotcha. I'm following. And
yeah.
Then is there going to be a third one there, or those are pretty expensive, so there's probably not a whole lot of room left, is there?
Yeah, that's 3 a piece. If you have more room, I would suggest, going back into the Orbs of Power. So like Firepower, which Grenade Final Blows create Orbs of Power, or even Heavy Handed, where same thing, but for your melee creates Orb of Power.
Good call.
But I am running, a recovery mod, that 4 energy cost recovery mod.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Arms are covered. So what's next?
We got the chest piece here. And for this one, I'm going Arc Reserves, so I can have more ammo for both my heavy and that I can carry for my heavy and for my special weapon with the exotic there. And then I am running a Font of Endurance. When we collect, this is cool because this doesn't spend your armor charge. It does cause it to decay. But I thought this is very important. Collecting the Orb of Power causes you to gain temporary armor charge. You gain a bonus resilience while you have any armor charge, but the armor charge does decay over time, which is fine. We're going to be creating a lot of orbs, so not worried about it decaying over time, but I do love the fact that collecting the orb power is giving us that armor charge.
Perfect.
Which is what feeds into the previous ones that we had there.
That's our loop. Perfect. Okay.
Yep. And you're getting that bonus resilience, which, I mean, man, it's a day one. I think
That'd be important.
any more resilience I can get, especially on my Warlock, because I'm not maxed out in resilience in this one. Okay. It's not my type. I was focused.
Yeah, so it'll give at least 10 more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It'll cap you off either way, so yeah.
And then for that final slot, I am that one's going to be debatable. So right now I got a solar resistance in it because solar irritates me the most. But we'll see what we face as far as elemental, damage once we get into the raid. And that's just a quick swap. I mean, you got all those there that cost 2 energy.
That's another thing too, is it used to cost money to swap out all these mods. Now it's just swap on the fly. No cost involved. It's awesome. All right, good deal. All right, so chest. So I guess we got what? Our legs next?
Yep, legs next. For leg armor, I am going to be running Innervation. So it reduces the grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. Again, feeding into our grenades. Okay. And Invigoration, same thing. But for your melee, pick up an orb of power will reduce your melee cooldown. So, I mean, there's so much that we're putting into our abilities here from all different aspects, right?
Let me guess. I'm going to guess this last one. It's Arc Weapon Surge, isn't it?
It's actually not.
No?
No.
Okay.
No. That's usually one that I run though. Absolutely. Arc Weapon Surge is beautiful. All the weapon surges are really beautiful because they really give that extra boost. I'm actually running stacks on stacks. This one, and this is more for the defensive purposes, right? It's to be a little bit more tanky because pick up an orb of power grants me that additional stack of armor charge.
Good point.
And then that synergizes with the previous one that we had on our chest, that while we have an armor charge, like we have that increased resilience. So
yeah,
go with that one.
That's important because we're using so many, we're collecting so many orbs. They're going to be killing a lot of stuff, that if we only can hold a limited amount, then that limits our loop. So this gives us a little extra cushion. I see what you're saying here.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we have the bond here, the Warlock bond.
Yes.
And for this one, guess what we're gonna do?
Uh-oh.
We're gonna feed more class ability or more ability energy, essentially. We're gonna be running Outreach, which reduces the melee cooldown when we use our class ability, as well as Bomber, which does the same thing for your grenades.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to be dropping that Rift as much as I can to help allies, to pop my Arc Soul back up.
There you go.
So why not benefit from it even more than what it just does by itself, right? And then for that last one there, we're going to have Reaper, which after using your class ability, your next, since we're going to be dropping it all the damn time, your next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power, which synergizes with everything else in there. So
more orbs of power.
Yeah, more orbs of power that feeds us that endurance, right? Font of endurance. It feeds our melee and grenade kickstart.
Wow.
And it feeds our super, obviously.
You can just see how everything just is perfectly put together. This is cool. Very nice, man. This is the reason why I wanted to make this video, because you can see you can get into the weeds on some of this stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when you put this build together, you just do you sit back and just kind of look at the synergies? I'm trying to figure what's your thought process when you put this build together? I mean, was it just always having that uptime?
It started as that. So it was actually something my son told me about. He was like, "Dad, you got to try this. This is crazy." And he was just talking about the synergy between Crown of Tempest and Delicate Tomb. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll give it a shot since I just made a Warlock. So I did, and I liked it. And I was just like, okay, now I got to figure out how I could even just, double down on everything with this. And that's where all the mods and the fragments come in.
I've been playing my Titan this season, and it's been neglected. Okay, let's just say, I'll just come out with it. It's been very neglected. And I've been playing a ton of solo Lost Sectors to get all the armor. I almost have everything now. Almost got everything collected. I have some helmets to get. I've got, I just got my recent, exotic chest piece that I didn't have. I still have a couple boots. I still have one set of boots I still got to get, but I spent 2 hours just theorizing these builds and putting these builds together. I would watch a video on one and I'd say, well, yeah, I see how that's all working, but I'd rather have this benefit. And that's the great thing about builds is you can get great ideas from people on YouTube, yourself included, and you can go, yeah, I know he likes to have uptime in this area of the game, but I don't really use that a lot. So I would rather go and tweak it a little bit and give myself more of this instead. So yeah, man, that's just such a great thing about this. This is like a game within a game, man. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I think of it as. Like, and it's cool because this is not just PvE. This is also PvP wise too.
Oh, yeah.
And I won't dig deep into that, but the fact of like, so, last season, right? The Arc Titan, as everybody knows, was quite hated on because, and I used it myself. I'm not going to lie to you, but you had the jug shields, and you also had the shotguns, the jug shields. You had, what was the other thing that we had on there that everybody was complaining about? I can't put my finger on it right now. Antea sword.
Oh, that's right.
So you start sprinting, you get your jug shield up, and then they're trying to shoot you, and it finally breaks your jug shield, and then you slide and have another shield to close the distance, and then shotgun them, and it was great. It was great. So it was a cool build to have. But then, a lot of people figured it out. It was like, okay, you know how we stop these Arctitans? You know what? We're going to counter it with our own build that counters that, which was stasis for the most part, right? So they had the slow grenades and all the different things that stasis comes with, and then I got sad, But that was the cool thing about it. It's like a chess game, Yeah. Like they see something is so strong, but guess what? There's always something to counter that.
Wow.
And that's one of the things I love about it. So it is a chess game, whether you're going against, some AI or other players in the Crucible. The whole build crafting is the preparation for battle, the chess game before you actually launch an attack. Now, the one thing I did want to tell your listeners as well is, like, once you have your build down, it could be good for multiple seasons. Mm-hmm. Use the artifact as a way to increase the potency of it. That's the way I look at the artifact, the seasonal artifact, because just because it's a new season doesn't mean it's that bad. And also another big thing is keep up to date with what's going on in Destiny, what the TWID puts out, what the updates put out, because something that was great yesterday, even though it's in the same season, could get nerfed to the ground the next day, and you're looking at yourself like, did I get bad all of a sudden? It could be a simple change from the devs.
Exactly. That's the old sandbox. And that's not only for PvP, it's also for the PvE areas as well. So, yeah, and that's usually exotics or tweaking or a certain archetype of weapon or something like that. But yeah, that's a good point, man, because, well, I mean, they should just listen to Destiny podcasts. I mean, we are always keeping up with the latest stuff that's in This Week in Destiny. So that's perfect. That way you're up to date. If something's going to be affected, you can tweak it and make a change. And then, yeah. So anything else, you want to share for, new Guardians out there about build crafting?
Don't get discouraged when something doesn't work, and take your time in testing it out. Utilize lost sectors. Like, I like to utilize the one on Nessus. It's quick to get to. It's a short one. You can get right to the boss and check out boss damage and all that kind of good stuff. The little nickname is Carl, right? Everybody's familiar with Carl. So yeah, that specific lost sector I like to use, as initial testing. Like, I'll do initial testing on a build and just see if it's working right in my mind, and then go ahead and scale the testing up to the next level. Like, okay, now let's go try it in a Nightfall, or let's go try it in a raid. Let's go try it or even strikes, depending on what you're going for.
Go to a legendary lost sector because they have champions in there.
Yep,
way to
there
test
you go.
it on champions. That's what I love doing. Lost sectors, in my opinion, was the best thing that they added in Destiny 2, because it not only is it a good test area, like you just mentioned, but the legendary lost sectors, of course, if you solo them, you can get exotics that you're missing. It's on a knockout list. So if there's a helmet, like we talked about, there's a helmet we don't have yet, we'll just hop into the daily lost sector. It changes every day. You hop into that lost sector, you play it solo. And I'll tell you what, if you really want to get good fast and understand mechanics with champions and how to pace yourself through an encounter, I think legendary lost sectors are the best training ground, because you can do it at your pace. There's no timers. I mean, there is and there isn't. I mean, you'll lose your revives eventually if you go too slowly through it. And you get your revives as you kill more champions. You kill a champion, you get an extra revive. But when it all comes down to it, though, it's a great place to test out everything you put together in build crafting. And man almighty, is it fun to use when everything's clicking.
Yeah.
It is 100%. So much fun. It is I mean, if you never got into build crafting and played Destiny, you're playing a totally different game. I mean, a totally different game, because there's so much more that you can do when you put builds together. And the great thing about them, which Native Raider here mentioned, is you can save all these loadouts. You can name them, you can customize them, you can swap stuff in and out of them and save it. You can do so much on Destiny Item Manager. It's DestinyItemManager.com, I believe. And that loadout page on all three of my characters is just full of all kinds of builds. Yeah, this is why I wanted to make this episode, because so many people play this game and don't have any clue this other part of the game that just makes all the world of difference.
Yep. Agreed.
So what do you think? Can you see how easy it is to play the game the way you want to? You know, this is the way Bungie intended us to play this game, and not taking advantage of creating builds for your Guardian is like jumping into an RPG game and not acquiring anything on the skill trees. Just a couple notes. I interviewed Native Raider the day before the Day 1 Crota raid, and that's why we keep bringing up this in our discussion. And if you haven't already, the first thing you need to do before making any builds in the future is going to DestinyItemManager.com, and all you have to do is link your Bungie account to the site, and that way DIM can use the Destiny API to display everything about your Guardians. And once you hit the Loadouts tab at the top of the page, you will see how easy it is to store and organize your builds in the future. I will post the DIM link to this very build that we discussed today in the show notes down below, but I heavily encourage you to go through putting the build together step by step as we talk about it in the show in order to fully grasp why the build works the way it does. Once you start doing it, you won't want to stop. Before I let Native Raider go, I had a few Destiny questions for him. And the first question I had for him was, did he see build crafting evolving as the future of Destiny unwinds?
I hope it continues to expand, because I feel like that's one of the uniqueness thing, or the most unique thing about this game, right? I mean, there's buildcraft in other games, but the way that they do this here is just, it makes the game so much fun, you know, and makes the Guardian really critically think and plan out what you're going to do, and not just for yourself, but for your fire team, you know, like, so I really do hope that they expand more on it. What's going to happen? I have no clue. I have no clue. Like this season, they have those cards, you know, and I thought those cards were super awesome. The deck building thing, right? Yes. I hope that some kind of mechanic like that is incorporated in the future. That's, you know, not just a season for seasonal activities, but for everything. You know, throw us some more little tools to kit out our guy and more customization in that regard.
After we have our final shape next this winter coming up in February, then after the final shape's done, they've already promised that we're going to have 3 episodes that you can play in any order. I don't know. They've vaguely mentioned what they're going to be about. Speculation is flying everywhere about what they are going to be about. I have some spinful theories as well, but we won't go into that tonight. But what's coming in 2025, man?
I think that we'll start the new saga. I think there has to be a new saga if they're ready. But I think the episodes is a really smart idea by them to keep community engaged while they, you know, create another saga. I mean, saga. Like, I mean, this saga was 10 years long, right? Yeah. That's a ton of content to create. So I'm thinking the episodes is going to be a break in a sense, and getting people caught up on different storylines and the Destiny universe as a whole. I honestly think about it as like Star Wars, right? You have the saga of Star Wars, right? The episodes that they had, the 9 episodes. Right. And then they started doing other stuff, Rogue One and all these other spin-offs and shows and whatnot. That's still within the world of Star Wars. You still get that beautiful Star Wars feel. I think that's what these episodes are for. But in order for it to continue going on down the road, I think another new big baddie needs to come through. And I think that's what we have to have, a new saga.
Do you think it'll be in this universe, or do you think we'll be in a totally different new universe?
I'm thinking it's going to be different. I think it has to be honest. I feel like this has been played out for so long. It's time for something new. And if we go to an unknown universe, right? Imagine the creative like flexibility that the writers have, the design artists, everything like that have, that doesn't have to sit there and be like, you know, our actual solar system in real life, you know, with Mars and, you know, Venus and everything like that. They can create something completely wild, completely unimaginable and beautiful. And we know that they got the skills to do it and the tools, you know, so I think it's got to be in another universe. And it's got to also, I'm sorry to say, but probably kick the old gen consoles off so they can update the engine. And I don't know what it's going to be called, but I think it's got to be maybe a new game.
Man, that's what I hope. I think Destiny needs a full reset. I mean, our vaults are full. We're overflowing with weapons. I think we need to start over. Oh, God. Hazel gets crazy when I say that because he earned these weapons. Dude, you played him for 10 years. Let's move on. Let's get another weapon. What if you get a plasma rifle or something? You know, think of the different archetypes of weapons they can come out with other than just bullet weapons, you know? It's just really cool.
What I think would be a really cool idea, this is just me, and I thought about this a while ago here, but say the storyline goes to it and it's like, you know, we got to get out of the solar system. Everything it's about to implode, blah, 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 whatever the storyline is. So basically pack your stuff and let's go. So basically you have your inventory. Take what you have out of the vault that you want to take with you to the next game. We're out of here. See, and that transfers to the next game.
I mentioned something like that in my Spinful theory. I thought that maybe we'd have like a book of triumphs after Final Shape going into the year before the new game. I think I jumped the gun a little early. I just didn't know how they were going to transfer us from the Final Shape into the next thing in Destiny and keep us involved, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea. I talked about how Hazel said it would be too hard to port all those different weapon combinations to the new game. And I'm like, well, what if you just had like a go bag and you could stuff like, I don't know, 20 weapons maybe into this bag. Yeah, that's a good idea, man. I like that idea. And I've already said this in some of my shorts and on the podcast, Guardian Downcast, is what if the Witness wins, man? What if the collapse still happens? Everybody just assumes kill the Witness, kumbaya, we're all going to come together like the end of, everyone thinks it's going to be like Return of the Jedi where, you know, the Ewoks, we're all going to party and have a campfire and blow horns and swing from the vines and everything's going to be great after we kill the Witness. What if it isn't that black and white, man? What if, you know, it turns down another path? What if the Witness still wins, everything's going to collapse and we got it like the Awoken? We have to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I think that would be a great thing. And I mean, what a perfect storyline to move it to another game.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you for joining my Spinful twistings. It's easy to speculate and, I don't know. I think Hazel's about had enough of my Spinful lately, but I just had to get it out, man. It's like you think about it all day and you're like, what path could Destiny go here? Okay, last thing I wanted to talk to you about, Native, is your YouTube channel. You have put out a lot of build videos, mainly for Titans. Mm-hmm. Because that's what you mained, and you were experimenting with a lot of builds, and you shared those in your awesome YouTube channel. And your videos are really good quality, dude. They really, really work well together. And you've been doing more recent like recaps, weekly recaps in the world of Destiny. But what I wanted to ask you is, why did you put this channel together? What was your mission statement when you put this channel together, and where do you see it going?
To be honest, like when I first started the YouTube channel, I was just getting back into Destiny and I was watching YouTubes and I was just like, man, I'd never tried this. This would be fun. And it was more a challenge to myself. Like, I'm curious if I can do this, you know. I had no idea about editing or nothing like that. So it was a cool learning thing. I always love learning and I like being creative. So I was like, yeah, this would be cool. And I kind of just enjoy it now. Like it's been a lot of fun. And honestly, for the Guardians, like it's just to help them out. Like I found something that works. You guys try it. Let me know what can you make it work better. Like that's something that I always ask. And then, this last video that I put out, I decided to take a different direction here. I still will be doing plenty of builds. I am branching out with the classes, so it won't just be Titans. It will be Warlocks this season. And next season, I might start doing Hunter as well. So we'll see how it goes. It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, it's help people out. And this new thing that I'm starting is going to be a weekly playlist that'll recap of everything that, you know, happened during the week within the Destiny universe, in game and out of game. Whether that's, you know, the drama in the community, a brief free code. Think of it as like a newscast kind of thing, you know? That's kind of what I went for. Yeah. Yeah,
and I love your Destiny thought shorts too while you're driving. That's cool.
I need to get a better microphone because it sounds like, so I got to fix that.
Yeah, man, you're driving through the desert, man. I'm like, man, he's got to drive to his work. And then I'm looking around. I'm like, I don't see any trees out there, man. I know you're in Southern Cal, so I get it. I get it. But, yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Well, speaking of which, people are interested in learning build crafting and all kinds of different builds and catching up on this week in Destiny, where are they going to go?
Yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel at N8iVR8R. It's spelled N8iVR8R. You catch me there. I'm also pretty active on Twitter as well as the Discords, the Owl Sector Alliance Discords.
And you also have a podcast too, right?
We do. It's called the Blueberry Lounge, and I should be recording next. It's a weekly podcast all about Destiny. We do focus a little bit more into the PvP aspect of things, but we do cover everything for the most part. But that's me and my co-host Sweaty Spooks. That's our jam, right? It's the Crucible.
Yeah, there's not enough podcasts out there that talk about PvP. Anytime you guys want to talk Crucible, man, I'm in, because I love talking. Hazel's, he's okay about it. He'll talk about it a little bit, but I can go down the rabbit holes when it comes down to Crucible and strategies and gameplay and stuff. So cool deal, man. Well, you guys are doing good work over there, so keep it up. And you and Sweaty Spooks are so much fun to listen to, man. You guys have good chemistry too, and that's always important.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, good deal. Well, Mr. N8iVR8R, thank you for sharing your expertise on the show tonight, and hopefully this will help some new Guardians out there who are maybe a little maybe a little intimidated about all this build stuff that they hear about, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully this will help them out. And I just appreciate your time, man, for helping explain and we walking through the builds tonight and stuff. Hopefully that'll be real helpful to new Guardians out there that are trying this game.
I hope so, man. Especially, for you, your channel, you have a passion for helping the new Guardian, and that's very apparent and it's very genuine. So if anybody is like listening to this or watching this or whatever platform it is, like Gator is very solid in his advice and his thoughts and just information that you bring to especially the new lights out there. So definitely subscribe to him.
Thanks, man. I'll Venmo you later, man. Cool deal, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show, man. That was a lot of fun. We gotta do this again.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
All right, brother. I'll see you later. Have a good night.
Later.
I gotta go get that helmet now.
Yeah, me too. After I pick up this food, I gotta be there in 8 minutes. All right,
sounds
man.
good. Later, buddy.
Later.
Bye. Well, there you go. I really do hope this episode brought some value to you today. And now that you have some insight on how to build craft in Destiny 2, that you'll see how awesome it is to play the game at a totally different level. I really like these interview format podcast episodes, and they do take more time to create, but I love doing them. So if you could do me a favor, can you give me some feedback on the new show format? You can do it 3 different ways. If you're in our Guardian Downcast Discord, there's a channel labeled Destiny Help Desk Show Feedback, where you can leave me a message. You can also email me directly at ToddtheGatr@gmail.com. Or finally, you can send me a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Destiny Help Desk. Once you go there, hit the record button, review your message, and then hit send. It's that easy. Please be sure to enter a gamer tag too, so I know who I'm talking to. Also, if you are enjoying the content, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, ToddtheGatr. That's 2 Ds, Gatr. There's a ton of helpful videos to help newer Guardians and live stream replays and community nights. I have YouTube shorts, excerpts from this podcast and also the Guardian Downcast as well. Lots of different ways to see my content. So I'll thank you in advance for subbing. Remember, we only get one playthrough in this life, so make every day count and be kind to your fellow Guardians in the Destinyverse. Thank you all so much for listening. And later, Guardian.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to compare yourself to the big guys. And you're like, dude, take a damn chill pill. Those guys have been doing it for years. They got a big head start, man. And you can see our channels are incrementally growing. It just takes time, man. It's a long game.
No, absolutely. And I enjoy it, man. And like getting out of my comfort zone with it also brings more experience and, you know, allows me to, because I like being creative on things. And once something is routine for me, I tend to get bored with it. So now it's like time to either make it better, improve it, or try different routes, different techniques and whatnot. So it's been fun. Like that I actually built me I spent some time at work because it was pretty much dead this past week at work. So I had a lot of free time,
right?
But I still had to be there at the office. And I wrote my script completely at the office.
Nice.
And the next day I had more free time at work. So I decided to build me like a visual flow chart, like for the visuals of what I want to see.
Workflow. Yeah. Like a workflow chart.
Yeah. So
but
exactly.
Yeah.
But for a video, so I would have like, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with like the flow charts.
Yeah.
So it's similar to a flow chart, and like a couple different shapes. This representing a clip. This representing, you know, a graphic that I want to, you know, animate and put up.
Right.
And I just had it in order. And then when I came home, I had already read my audio, and now it's time to piece everything together, like collect all the different clips I wanted. I wanted a little bit of Crucible gameplay. I wanted some Trials gameplay. I wanted some of this, some of that. And it made it easy for editing. It really did. I felt way more organized instead of sitting there recording a script and then looking at the screen like, okay, shit, how am I going to visualize this? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I kind of have my system too. What I do is it always starts with a script. Always starts with the audio. Once I come up with the audio, and once my audio basically dictates the pace of the video. Once I have that in place and I've fine-tuned it and I've honed it, then I'll come home and record it, or I'll decide to go ahead and record it. Once I have those tracks, I'll go to DaVinci Resolve and I'll start throwing the tracks in. I put my background music on. I start putting my B-roll in, and then I start to decide what I want to put in for visualization. And the one thing I learned about this, I did my first Destiny Help Desk video on my YouTube channel this week with John the Bounty Hunter and Danfinity. And one thing I noticed is I tried to loop the first song for like the first 5 or 6 minutes. It was only like a minute and a half song, but I kept looping it. And had like jazz guitar in the background. I was like, I listened to it back after, of course, I already uploaded it, so I can't change it. And I was like, damn it. Okay, lesson learned. Get a good 8 or 9 minute song and just let it roll instead of trying to keep looping it. Cause I even making the video, and I always have the best light on stuff. You know, always expect the best for my videos. At 6 minutes in, people were dropping out. So I'm like, okay, that music had to be annoying after a while, cause it was annoying me and I liked the music. So,
yeah. So,
you know what they always say? They always say 1% better every time. That's the way I look at myself. I'm like, okay, that's the 1%. I'm not going to loop the same damn music at the first part of the show.